Good evening. Welcome to California Today. I'm Ling Zhang. Here is a preview of some of today's stories. Storms continue to batter California. Authorities are now searching for a 5-year-old boy who was swept away by the flood waters. Many counties across the state are still under evacuation orders, but some residents of a coastal town chose to defy orders and remain in their homes. And despite the downpouring rain, California is still in a drought. The Golden State is under both a drought and a flood state of emergency. Heavy rain continues to batter parts of California. It has knocked out power, shut down roads, and flooded some areas. Officials say there are at least 17 confirmed storm-related deaths. NTD's Jeremy Sandberg has more on the severe weather causing trouble for the Golden State.
Millions of California residents are under flood warnings, and more than 200,000 homes and businesses are without power because of heavy rains, hail, and landslides. Thousands have been ordered to evacuate their homes. California Governor Gavin Newsom is warning people to stay vigilant.
We've had less people die in the last 2 years of major wildfires in California that have died since New Year's Day related to this weather in California. These conditions are serious and they're deadly.
While the storms are providing some relief for the state's drought conditions, they're also taking lives. Officials say at least 17 people have died from the storms that began late last month. Deaths include a pickup truck driver and a motorcyclist killed Tuesday morning when a tree fell on them on Highway 99. A 5-year-old boy is still missing after being swept away. He and his mother were stranded in a truck in rising waters. A 7-hour search on Monday turned up only one of his shoes.
It's at moments like this we just pray for a miracle.
The storm that began Monday dumped over a foot of rain at higher elevations in the central and southern parts of the state and brought more than 5 feet of snow to Sierra Nevada ski resorts. Rockfalls and mudslides have shut down roads, and gushing runoff has turned sections of freeways into waterways. Swollen rivers swamped homes and triggered evacuation orders.
The fact that we're not out of the woods, we expect these storms to continue at least through the 18th of this month. We expect a minimum 3 more of these atmospheric rivers in different shapes and forms, depending on different parts of the state.
More rain is forecast for Wednesday in Northern California, and a longer storm system is predicted to last from Friday until Tuesday next week. Jeremy Sandberg, NTD News.
Authorities are searching for a missing boy after he was swept away by storm water earlier this week. As the rain continues, residents in coastal towns were ordered to evacuate.
The San Luis Obispo County Sheriff has made it a priority to search and rescue 5-year-old Kyle Doan. He was swept away by raging floodwaters near San Miguel on Monday morning. He has short, dirty blonde hair, hazel eyes, and is 4 feet tall, weighing 52 pounds. He was last seen wearing a black puffer jacket, blue jeans, and blue and gray Nike tennis shoes. In a tweet, the sheriff's office said, "While he has yet to be located, the search remains our top priority while weather conditions permit." Further south near Santa Barbara, residents in the affluent town of Montecito were ordered to leave their homes. For some, it triggered memories of the 2018 mudslide, which killed 23 people.
It was just so sad. So this community probably has some PTSD that they were dealing with yesterday because of that experience 5 years ago.
I was here in the Thomas debris flow 5 years ago, and so I kind of knew what to expect, and I just kept my eye on it here. It seemed like it was going to breach the banks. I was watching it, it was towards the top, and sure enough, as you can see, it's a disaster. In some ways, I think it's worse than 5 years ago, really.
The Montecito evacuation zone was among 17 California regions where authorities are concerned the ongoing torrential downpours could unleash mud, boulders, and other debris in the hillsides. Community members are drawing on past experiences and preparing for the next storm.
A number of people have lived through it before. People have been here longer, and they have pretty good confidence in management that people are going to do the best they can. My personal experience was I felt like we had lots of information. It was going to be handled well, and people will be taking care of it better than I could.
They're all pretty panicked and contacting me. Is my place okay? How are you doing? Everybody's very concerned and reaching out to each other. So people are coming together behind this. That's a good thing.
Cleanup efforts began early as volunteers, business owners, and city workers began cleaning up road debris and mudslides affecting the downtown business area.
As storms rage on in California, the death toll continues to increase, and many residents have been asked to evacuate. But despite the orders, some locals decided to remain in their homes. NTD's Jackie Rios has the latest.
The latest rounds of storms that struck California left hundreds of thousands of residents under flood warnings. In counties like Ventura and Santa Cruz, thousands of homeowners have been asked to evacuate. But some residents have chosen to stay despite the orders.
Right after I got here, they put an evacuation order. We opted to stay. So we'll probably be sitting here for the rest of the day before they can figure out how to get us back and forth.
La Conchita, a small coastal community located in Ventura County, California, were among those asked to evacuate.
Here, we're not necessarily impacted by flooding, but we are impacted by the hillside behind us. And so we keep an eye on rain totals. Thankfully, we still have electricity, we still have utilities to shelter in place.
Aaron Ryan, another resident who decided to shelter in place at a house near Hillside, was cautious of a potential landslide, but noted he still had electricity and utilities.
Living close to the coast along California, there's quite a few, geological threats, tsunamis, fire, landslides, and so it's you balance the cost of living here.
According to poweroutage.us, there are still more than 60,000 homes without power. More than half of the 58 counties in California have declared disaster areas.
I think we're definitely at a point now where we can see the devastating impacts that these first few storms have caused in Ventura County. We know that there is more rain on the way, which means that we're going to have to continue to prepare.
In Ventura County, the fire department has rescued 42 people from the Ventura River and Santa Clara River. As of Monday, the Ventura River water level rose to 25 feet.
With the muddy water that we have in these type of flood conditions, it's very difficult to determine how deep it is or if the road has eroded underneath the water.
The National Weather Service advised 39 million Californians to anticipate up to 5 inches of rainfall near the coast, more snow to the west, and heavy winds that could reach 65 miles an hour in the coming days across the state. Damages have totaled nearly $1 billion, and the current death toll sits at 17. Jackie Rios, NTD News, California.
California has seen a super wet December and January so far. But even with the large amounts of rainfall, officials say that the drought is not over yet.
California is still in a drought. That's according to the U.S. Drought Monitor's latest map published on January 5th. But the good news is that it has improved a lot compared to just 2 weeks ago. Parts of the Central Valley that were color-coded dark maroon or exceptional drought at the end of 2022 are now colored red or extreme drought. Thanks to the train of storms since Christmas, most of the state is now between abnormally dry and extreme drought. Daniel Swain, a UCLA climate scientist, told CNN this is really going to help a lot with a short-term drought in Northern California, perhaps even erase short-term drought conditions. But it's going to take a lot more to completely obviate the long-term multi-year drought impacts. Although the much-needed rain helped ease the drought, the heavy storms have now left large parts of the state in major floods. Gusty winds brought down power lines and left hundreds of thousands of residents without electricity. California continues to brace for more storm systems in the coming days.
A Tesla ended up in a swimming pool in Pasadena, California, Tuesday, after a driver mistakenly hit the gas pedal instead of the brake. The driver had 2 passengers, including a 4-year-old boy. There is no word on whether anyone was injured. The vehicle crashed through a low retaining wall and plunged into the deep end of a pool next to a house. Police say workers at a preschool next door heard the crash, raced over, and jumped in to rescue the people from the submerged car. Police say bad weather may have distracted the driver, and they are still investigating. The area was experiencing gusty winds and torrential rains from the latest atmospheric river hitting Southern California. We are going to take a short break, but here's a look at what we got for you when we come back. Public universities in the state are now required to maintain opioid antidote on campus. The new law comes as the state has seen a rise in drug overdose deaths. We'll take a more in-depth look at a new law that allows convicted felons to seal their criminal records. It would prevent landlords and employers from seeing a felon's criminal history. And the shelter in Orange County continues to waive adoption fees for large dogs. The fee waiver applies to people from any city. That and more on California Today. Welcome back to California Today. I'm your host, Liang Zhang. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy is following through on his pledge to remove 3 Democrats from their House committees. Representatives Adam Schiff, Eric Swalwell, and Ilhan Omar are losing their assignments.
McCarthy confirmed the move on Monday. Schiff and Swalwell will be removed from the House Intelligence Committee, and Representative Omar will be removed from the House Foreign Affairs Committee. McCarthy has the power to keep the 2 congressmen off the Intel panel as House Speaker. A majority vote in the House will be needed to remove Omar. Omar has been accused of anti-Semitism multiple times. Both former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer have rebuked her for her statements. McCarthy tweeted that he removed her for, quote, repeated anti-Semitic and anti-American remarks. McCarthy said Swalwell can't get a security clearance in the public sector. Swalwell allegedly had an affair with a suspected spy from the Chinese Communist Party. As for Adam Schiff, McCarthy says he's lied to the American public time and again and will not be allowed on the Intel Committee. Schiff has been accused of fabricating information about the Russian collusion narrative and then leaking it during the Trump administration, something that Schiff denies. The House voted Tuesday to create a new subcommittee. It will investigate the perceived weaponization of the government by federal law enforcement agencies under the Biden administration. The panel is part of the House Judiciary Committee. Representative Jim Jordan is expected to chair it. McCarthy promised a year ago to remove them if Republicans took control of the House. He repeated that vow during the midterms.
All California public universities will now be required to maintain opioid antidote medication at campus health centers. The new rule was signed into law last year.
All public universities in California are now required to carry opioid antidote at student health centers. This new law went into effect on January 1st. Authored by Democratic State Senator Melissa Hurtado, Senate Bill 367 was signed into law by Governor Gavin Newsom back in August. The law also requires universities to provide medication instruction and education during student orientations. Public universities are already eligible to obtain naloxone, also known as Narcan, through a state program called the Naloxone Distribution Project. The medication reverses the impacts of opioids such as fentanyl or heroin on the neurological system. The program provides the life-saving medication for free to schools and universities, law enforcement, community organizations, first responders, and other agencies in the state. Hurtado told the Epoch Times in a statement, "Far too many families have had to bury their loved ones after they've overdosed on opioids. This is unacceptable, and while more must be done, I am proud to have authored SB 367. She says she introduced the bill to help reduce the number of opioid-related deaths at public universities and colleges in California. Last month, the Orange County Board of Supervisors voted unanimously to authorize funds for opioid blockers for the county's school district. During the board meeting, Orange County Sheriff Don Barnes says that fentanyl is now the leading cause of death in the county for those 17 years old and under.
A new California law will expand the eligibility for convicted felons to seal their criminal records from employers and landlords. The law is set to take effect in July.
A new California law will soon allow certain convicted felons to request that their criminal records be sealed. That's if they complete their sentence and go 4 years without any new arrests. The law, Senate Bill 731, was authored by Senators Maria Elena Durazo and Stephen Bradford. Governor Gavin Newsom signed it into law last September. SB 731 also expands the eligibility for sealing arrest records to include inmates in state prisons. But critics of the new law say it will harm public safety, while proponents say it provides a positive pathway to employment for eligible felons. Richard Stapler, chief of staff for Democratic State Senator John Laird, told the Epoch Times, quote, "This legislation follows on the heels of 7 other states that have passed similar legislation that ensures those who are convicted of non-serious felonies can be considered for employment. If it's violent, sexual, you're not getting sealed." But according to Epoch Times, Republican Assembly member Tom Lackey does not see the benefits of the new law. He says, "There are certain things that are blatantly bad ideas. This is one of those things. However, I understand the motivation for creating a forgiving pathway. The new law focuses heavily on allowing those with certain criminal records access to teaching credentials and other employment opportunities. For example, the law prohibits denying such credentials to those with convictions for drug possession that are more than 5 years old." Senators Durazo and Bradford did not immediately return requests for comment.
A new law that will punish doctors for COVID misinformation went into effect January 1st. The California governor signed the law last September. Let's take a closer look at what this new law means for California doctors.
Doctors can now face discipline for spreading so-called misinformation and disinformation about COVID-19. It includes information about vaccine effectiveness and other treatments. Such actions are now categorized as unprofessional conduct. Governor Gavin Newsom signed the legislation last year on September 30th. It now allows the state medical board to discipline physicians for misinformation and disinformation. After Newsom signed the bill, he released a message saying that he was concerned similar laws could have a, quote, chilling effect on doctors. But he was confident AB 2098 is narrow enough to apply to only, quote, those egregious instances where physicians are acting with what he described as malicious intent. But many physicians and critics disagree with Newsom and argue that the law is unconstitutional and in violation of the First and 14th Amendments of the Constitution. Last October, Daniel Sir, a managing attorney for the Liberty Justice Center, filed a federal lawsuit against the medical misinformation bill. Sir says that the government is continuously overstepping and going over its, quote, constitutionally appropriate role. And 2 attorneys from the New Civil Liberties Alliance also filed a complaint last November. It includes a motion for a preliminary injunction on behalf of 5 doctors. The complaint had asked the courts to prevent the new law from going into effect. Democratic Assemblyman Evan Lowe authored the new law, AB 2098. According to the bill's text, misinformation means, quote, false information that is contradicted by contemporary scientific consensus contrary to the standard of care. While disinformation is, quote, misinformation that the licensee deliberately disseminated with malicious intent or an intent to mislead. Under current law, physicians and surgeons are regulated by the medical board. The board is legally required to act against any licensed doctor who is charged with unprofessional conduct.
The Orange County Animal Care Shelter continues to waive this month's adoption fees for large dogs. The shelter says adoptions have doubled since last year.
To incentivize adoptions, one of Orange County's largest animal shelters, OC Animal Care, is continuing to waive the adoption fees for dogs 25 pounds and over. Adoptions for large dogs have doubled since the shelter started the promotion in December. In addition to the fee waiver, adoptions will include microchipping, vaccinations, spaying or neutering, and an anti-parasite treatment. But the promotion does not include licensing fees for puppies 6 months or younger. The adoption promotion is available to residents of any city. People can schedule an appointment by calling the shelter or dropping by for a walk-in visit. Adopters can view the animals online or interact with the dogs more directly at Pooch's on the patio every Saturday. The shelter also has an online wish list of items for its pets in need, including toys and supplies listed on Amazon.
Now let's check in with NTD's Tyler Castile for today's Sports Roundup.
I'm Tyler Castillo, taking you through the California Today Sports Roundup. Two-way force Mikal Bridges had a team-high 26 points. Damian Lee celebrated his ring ceremony with 22, and injury-ravaged Phoenix quieted the San Francisco crowd on Stephen Curry's return with a victory over Golden State. Back after missing 11 straight games with a dislocated shoulder, Curry came on strong late in a 31-minute effort, hitting 5 3-pointers and finishing with 24 points. Golden State's Klay Thompson paced all scorers in the game with 29. On the night when he was honored for his role in the Warriors NBA championship last season, Lee gave Phoenix the lead for good with a 3-pointer in the final minute of the first quarter. Bridges shot 10 of 18 en route to his 6th game with at least 25 points this season. Suns 125, Warriors 113. Kawhi Leonard scored 33 points with 9 rebounds, and Norman Powell added 27 points as Los Angeles ended a season-long 6-game losing streak with a win over visiting Dallas. Marcus Morris Sr. and Terrence Mann each scored 12 points as the Clippers won for the first time in the new year and picked up their first home win since December 21st. It was the longest losing streak in Tyronn Lue's 3-season tenure as Los Angeles head coach. Luka Doncic scored 43 points with 11 rebounds and 7 assists for the Mavericks in his return from left ankle soreness, which kept him out of Sunday's loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder. It was his 9th game of at least 40 points this season. Clippers 113, Mavericks 101. Matt Nieto scored on his first shift of the third period, and San Jose won in Tempe, Arizona to hand Arizona its 6th straight loss. The Sharks' come-from-behind performance gets them back in the win column after 2 straight losses and marks the beginning of a 2-game road trip after a 4-2 loss at home to the Boston Bruins on Saturday. Kevin LeBanc, Nico Sturm, and Jacob Megna also scored, and Erik Karlsson had an assist for San Jose, while goaltender Kaapo Kähkönen made 27 saves in the win. Christian Fischer and Barrett Hayton scored goals for the Coyotes, whose losing streak is now at 6 games, tied for a season high and the longest current slide in the league. Sharks 4, Coyotes 2. And that's the Sports Roundup for today.
That's all we've got for you tonight. We'd like you to join us again on California Today every weekday at 8:30 p.m. Make sure to check out our broadcasts on our California Today webpage. You can find it at ntd.com/California-today. You can also find all of our top latest clips there, ready to share with friends and family. Send us a message on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or through our email, california.today@ntd.com. I'm Liang Zhang. Have a wonderful evening.